Hello, everyone. Welcome to the English version of my podcast, Sensitive Not Broken. I am so excited you cannot even imagine. For those who are wondering, who the fuck is she? Well, let me introduce myself first. So, I am Charlotte, and I'm a French girl that suffered from an unknown pelvic chronic pain syndrome for about very long time. So I basically decided to raise awareness about it on the first podcast in French. Also, because I discovered that many girls have the same issue, even though I felt quite alone when I was literally bearing the brunt. And since I'm now in a working all day visa in New Zealand, plenty of English speaking people that I met asked me to do it in English so they can also learn, share, and maybe relate about it. Moreover, I created an Instagram, so if you have any further questions or if you want to share anything about your story that then help yourself, it's called Sensitive Not Broken, and I write it down in the bio, right below in the caption. So today's episode will be the longest because I quite need to give you some context and share with you my story about and around my hypersensitivity pelvic floor area. Before beginning with anything, I just wanted to do a quick disclaimer. Indeed, the episode is going to be about intimacy and pain, so if you are not at ease with it, maybe it's not the right one to listen to. So let's get started with the first part, that is the beginning, of course. So everything started when I was around 8 years old, I will say. I felt pain on my JJ when I biked with my parents. I kind of thought nothing of it, and I hated biking, so it didn't really matter to me at this age. Even though, also, yeah, even though my dad is quite bashful, quite demure, I could have told my mom about it. It's not mentionable at home. I just didn't feel like it at the time. But when I reached 12 years old, my friends started getting their periods, and I was a swimmer at the time, so obviously we talked about tampons. I tried one, and it hurts. It felt like it was burning my pussy, like literally burning. So I talked about it. My friend and my mom told me that I just wasn't ready because it's kind of scary the first time to put something in your body. Uh, I started to feel a little bit different around that age, wondering if it was normal or not, in a way. And then in high school, most of the people in France, at least, discover their sexuality. I personally wasn't ready, didn't want to. I would even say wasn't very interested, but still no possibility for me to put any tampons in without it hurting so much. And when I sat down, it started burning me also. It wasn't every time, but still very frequent. It was, I will say it was bearable, even though I started to feel kind of stressed about it. But again, my friend and my mom told me that it can happen when your jeans are too tight. So I was like, okay, whatever. Then at university, it was not hell yet, but I was going down to it definitely. I had my first boyfriend, and foreplays were very harmful. It was absolutely wonderful about it, very kind and gentle, but indeed I was sure that something went wrong with my body. I mean, it's my intimacy, so I know if it's something wrong or not. So consequently, I went to my first gynecologist appointment where the doctor told me I had vaginismus, which is when your muscles are too tight because of stress, for example, or trauma, and so nothing can be put inside your body, inside your vagina. So he gave me a cream and some exercise to do, and then bye bye. $30. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Have a nice day. So I also went to see a sexologist very quickly after that. I hate procrastination. I like when things are handled very quickly. So I wanted it to be fast. So I tried to see many doctors as much as I could, so to get rid of it. She was a little bit strange, to be honest. She explained something about swimming practices that will tighten my muscles and that I would rather have sex with an Asian guy than a black guy because, like, smaller dick. It was very strange. I laughed because I thought it was very funny, but still very strange. Which is very nice is that at first it was very funny in a way because you can really talk really about sexuality because it's her job basically. You pay for that. But throughout the time, I kind of started to feel like she was taking me as a fool. I felt eventually judged. It was the beginning of all the, you know, quote, it's in your head, that's all kind of era. And all those exercises weren't very efficient. They didn't help me understand how my body works and also why it didn't work properly. So didn't really like it. And so at the same time, I had a heartbreak because, of course, we ended things with his first man. I had like 6 medical appointments per month. I got fired of my student job. So my mental health started quickly deteriorating. And sometimes the more you try to get out of spiral, the more you're drawn in it because no results are backing up everything you've done. Like every action you try to do and to put forward are not like backing up with any kind of results. And my panic attacks become more and more regular. So that was the first part of everything. And then I landed in hell, definitely around February 2023, in the middle of my first year of uni. So I was still gonna single again at this time until I kissed my 5 years best friend. And this is the moment when you know that this is gonna be very messy. We were in a, let's see where it's going type of relationship. So we were not like officially together, but still exclusive at the time. So it's a mess. It's a mess. Like, I will not recommend this type of relationship. Never. Just be sure of what you're doing with the person. And I tried to do my first time with him, which was the worst idea ever. To be honest with you, I used to have panic attacks because of it still 1.5 years after it happened. So when I thought about it, sometimes even though we didn't talk to each other anymore, I would just like panic. It hurts so bad. But I cannot even like tell you how it hurt. It used to be. It was just like horrible. It burned. And the way he looked at me with so much disappointment and the way he compared me to his ex after was so disrespectful. It was like, I don't know, I still remember it like something traumatic for real, even though it doesn't feel like it. I can assure you it is. After that, my vagina hurts for days, so I had to see a male gynecologist last minute, during which I experienced my first gynecological violence. Yeah, a lot of first time in a week. Throughout the time, my best friend, boyfriend, I don't know what it is, what we can call that, whatever. He became more and more of a narcissist. He allowed himself things that I couldn't do, like I wasn't allowed to do it, because of course he decided to. I was always the one to blame for everything. One day he was on, one day he was off, one day he loved me, one day he hated me. Mixed signals, manipulation, I will say. So this plus nobody listening to you, his disappointment, your parents not believing you, well, your self-esteem goes down, as does your hope and your desire to live. I was tired of the position I was in. So basically, you just fight day and night for people to care about you. to genuinely listen to you, to stop making you feel like you are the problem. And I thought about me like being the worst person ever, as if I was not worth it in a way. And that's the big issue with this pelvic hypersensitivity. I used to feel like I was so much less than everyone else. At some point, I didn't want to hook up with him anymore because I was attracted to him, but just to prove him that I deserve to be loved. Kind of like hypersexualization in a way. And I had, of course, developed an anxious attachment style because, the problem never sits at your table alone. I used to have like six panic attacks per day, which was huge, and it's so tiring. If you know about panic attacks, it's just like you're so tired after it, and it lasts so long, like 30 minutes, something like that. It was horrible. I think I spent more time having panic attack than being on TikTok, which is like crazy. So then I worked in the south of France as a lifeguard for a seasonal job. And I had out of nowhere new symptoms. Yeah. Uh, it burned every time I pee. So basically like a yeast infection. But even though I had tests, I didn't have any yeast infection. It just was the same feeling, the same type of pain. So obviously, medical appointment again, test, type of questions like were you raped when you were young? No. Did you have unprotected sex? No. Going over and over the same question again, same test again, except that this time, oh yeah, there was like a time that I almost got raped by a biologist. And that was crazy. So you are in a position where you don't understand what is happening to your body. So you're scared, you are angry because every doctor is just telling you that you are faking it, that it's in your head, that just take some stupid like medication. You are anxious. Like you basically want to die. You basically want to die. You must wonder, did my so-called boyfriend situationship more relationship help? Not even a second. What for? Instead, he obviously has a mentally healthy human being choose to behave even worse. I mean, why not? Obviously, the right decision to make. And I didn't know that he could do that, but he could. So, and he was like always treating me like shit and say like atrocious things to my face. But you are manipulated, so you stay, and it's hard. But you don't know. Like I didn't know at the time what to do otherwise. Like it was my best friend. And I will tell you more about psychological violences later. But I knew that it was a shame that we couldn't do more than full plays. For me, it was still sex, and it was still sex. But for him, it wasn't. He has ego issues, like to be fair. And I don't really understand though. I mean, some women cannot even do foreplays, and he was not to tell anyone about what we were doing, so no one will really mock him or like who will do that even? Like it's not a big thing. I mean, it is for me because it's my intimacy. I don't know for him what he was ashamed about. And between him and I think that the most frustrated one, considering the pain I was going through alone, it was me. So it was definitely not fair the way he acted. Anyway, I knew that I was one of the reason why he didn't want to officialize things with me because of this non-real say sex thing. I mean, quoting because it's still sex, but whatever. Well, now I know that there's more than that, but at the time I knew that it was one of the reasons. Well, back on track. I was FaceTiming my therapist at the time that officially diagnosed me with depression. That's why I always wanted to die every day. I thought I was like a dipshit. Uh, I was always being belittled by my guy, even though I did the best I could. I was desperate, hopeless. I was feeling like something was putting pressure on my body. The depression physically harms. Like you feel the gravity so strongly. You feel like energetically drained by everything. So there were only my therapists at some point and maybe a little bit my parents at the end that started to understand that something was wrong with what was happening with my so-called boyfriend and my body. I am putting those two together because there's a link between them, apart from happening on the same timeline. I mean, but I thought at the time it couldn't be worse. Well, little did I know I was wrong. Because I went to medical appointments all over France. Like the medical field in the whole country saw my pussy, and more of them told me and asked me about some trauma that I could have lived when I was younger, such as rape, for example. My therapist too, although my urinary pain worsened when things were getting bad with my boyfriend at the time. So that is one of the link. And by the way, this relationship that I will talk more about in a future episode ended between the first and second year of uni. I left after he told our common friends that thought he could find better than me, basically. So psychologically, I was at the worst. I was suffering. I was bearing the brunt. I think I've never suffered that much before. I was kind of feeling miles underground. It just felt like my whole body and soul were in pain. I thought that it would never end and that it will never get better, so I was just desperate. So this, adding to the pain, I crawled into depression to a point where I told my parents and friends that if everything didn't get better, I will end my life the 31st of December 2024. And I know that this deadline could be seen as something quite selfish, but at the time I couldn't bear it anymore. I was exhausted. I just wanted to give up, to be honest. One day I went back to the endocrinologist, a new one, for a regular and yearly checkup. I told her about my pain without any expectations, just for her to be careful. And she signed me up in a chronic pain rehabilitation center in the city next to mine, which basically completely and genuinely changed my life for the best. So today it's better, way better. Life is easier, even though it's not like perfect yet, of course. But it's getting still, and this is still a huge stay, I will say. So I think it's kind of all for today. So first of all, thanks for listening to this episode. I hope that for some of you who are struggling with pelvic pain could relate to it. But we'll meet again in the next episode, in which I will tell you everything about my journey in the chronic pain rehabilitation center and how it has changed my life for a better one. So we just keep in touch. Take care and see you guys very soon.